So I just wanted to mention that we're going to talk to Ray Anderson. Good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning. Let's unmute ourselves. Ray, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Happiest of New Year's to you.
Happiest of New Year's to you. And Jackie Torsellini, is she going to be joining us as well?
I don't know. I see her name there.
Do you recognize the name?
Yes, she is on the breakfast committee, on the Heritage Foundation committee.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. And also we have is Mrs. Perry, the First Lady, going to be joining us?
I don't know. I thought she
Okay.
would be, but
All right. Well,
let me text her, check.
no sweat. It's just 11 o'clock now. So let's
Okay.
let's let's maximize the time um as people kind of come to the end. We'll admit them and won't necessarily put them in the barn. We'll put them in the VIP suite. You know what I mean?
Yes, I see Jackie chatted and said that it's not working for her.
Yeah. So, I've done the Zoom calls before and I'm not sure what more I can do in that regard. So I'm not gonna uh slow my roll in this regard. It's hopefully she can maybe sometimes I recommend that people kind of sign in again. That's happened to me more than once. So
Yeah.
just sign in again. But let's get started as soon as you text her. Uh, I'm really excited. I had a chance to talk to Reverend Perry this morning. And so had a chance to kind of let him know I'm looking forward to possibly getting out there to the breakfast. Um, so Ray, what year? This is what year? The fifth or sixth year for the MLK breakfast, the Heritage Committee.
Uh, it's the 39th year for the breakfast.
39 years. Isn't
Right.
that something?
Now the Heritage Committee, Tom, quite frankly, I'm not sure about the
Okay,
history of it because I'm new. I need to figure that out though.
no problem. Life is about mystery. So let's
There's
Jackie.
Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie,
Hi.
good
How are
Sorry
you,
morning.
about that,
Jackie?
gentlemen. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are
So
you?
we're Jackie, we're going to jump right in, and if we're joined by any other people, that's fine. But Ray was just mentioning that the breakfast is almost, did you say almost 40 years, Ray?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, almost
Yes.
40 years,
Almost.
correct.
That's quite a testimony. And so let's kind of give people the promo information up front. It's on Monday, January 15th. Tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. It's Monday, January 15th at the First Congregational Church at the Branford Green. We have a bunch of community sponsors. We have a tremendous guest speaker, Yvonne Renee Davis, who her obviously her resume is long and lengthy, so we could go down. But her big contribution, she's met with world leaders and presidents, but she's really big into conflict resolution and communication. And the theme of the breakfast speech that she'll be giving is the impact of silence.
Indeed, indeed. And Mrs. Perry, good morning and welcome as well. We didn't start without you. We're just kind of just teasing folks with what they need to do. And so the breakfast is on the 15th. How can folks, should they in terms of accessing and having the VIP suite and getting the champagne and where do they buy the tickets and what's the process in that regard, Mrs. Perry?
You can get your ticket on our Facebook site. There is a link, and you can also purchase tickets at the door.
Excellent. And Jackie, you're among this mighty crew of folks. What brings you to our face this morning?
So I've been working with the Martin Luther King committee for just about the last year. And so I'm here this morning to help support my my teammates in spreading the word about the breakfast and the importance to the community to get together and to continue to work to spread Dr. King's message and his mission.
Indeed, and really appreciate that. And obviously, separate from the Middle East situation now, what's going on in the Congo and what's going on in the other parts of the Middle East, Iran, Iraq, et cetera. Like, we could have, in some ways, be having this conversation 100 years ago, and hopefully not 100 years from now, in terms of the crisis and the precipice that we apparently are on as a civilization, and a society. But I'm really looking forward. I'm not necessarily a masochist, but it seems to me that every MLK event this month is going to have to kind of just really slap. Well, I won't say slap people in the face, but just let us know about what he gave his life for, and how there's still so much that we need to do in terms of where do we go from here. How can we, create peace on earth, goodwill toward women, men, and children. So it's certainly a challenge. Mrs. Perry, in addition to being a first wife, how did you even find time to be involved with this?
Oh, this is one of my favorite projects. One of the older members who was on the committee brought me in, and I thought it was going to be a one-off, but once my foot was in the door, she wouldn't let me get back out. And I've just over the years enjoyed being involved in it because it's grown a lot. And we're trying to pull more children in so that they can understand the true meaning of Dr. King's message and how it ties into everyone's life. And not the perfect, well, it would be the perfect world, but I'm a realist. But just to have a better understanding for them and for even adults who've forgotten.
Yes.
So that's my passion. I want us all to be on one accord.
Excellent. And Ray, you were sharing a little bit about Yvonne Davis, and she's a good friend, and I think it's so appropriate. Every person you've had present in the last 10 years that I've been aware of it has really been top shelf. But for Yvonne's presentation in a few weeks is just so on time, about just reminding us about our international connection and how do we show the international love. Yvonne is perhaps not as well known as some of the other people you've had in the past, but I just want to encourage people to still come up because her content and her message is quite provocative and informative. She's traveled to a number of countries, consulted with a number of countries, knows the domestic political situation on the Republican side and the Democratic side, and a Black woman. So I was really kind of so pleased to see who was responsible for the. I mean, this was a creative and insightful act to kind of invite Yvonne to kind of come. Who was involved with kind of lifting up her name and her presence and her influence?
That would be Jackie. She is friends with Yvonne, or has worked with Yvonne. So
Jackie,
about the theme, Jackie pushed that name out. Very grateful that she did.
So Jackie, tell us some more. We're passing the mic to you.
Yeah, so thank you. So I've had the opportunity to work with Yvonne in some other humanitarian aspects. I've worked with her in another nonprofit in New Haven that provides support to families for food and some other things. So we've worked together with another nonprofit, KIEDC, which is out of New Haven.
And KIEDC, you guys have also you haven't been restricted just to New Haven for showing your love, and so I've attended some of your events. Ray, you mentioned you're relatively new. Tell us about how they twisted your arm, or did you kind of come in willingly, or were you screaming, or how did they happen? Did you get an incentive clause or a contract? What was the deal there?
That's a very simple answer to that question, Tom. There is a Ms. Mary Perry on this very Zoom call who twisted my arm, and I couldn't resist.
There you go.
Could not resist.
And
here we are. But so appropriate because if you think about, the context of Martin Luther King's work during the civil rights movement, it's easy to kind of think of that as, well, that was you know, if you will, Black America's effort to pave civil rights and get rights for Black Americans, which had been denied years and years and years past, and get laws impacted. However, so you fast forward to 2024 and you look at what's going on in the world across the entire planet.
Yes.
You take any one of his quotes, they virtually apply. We've reached as a civilization the point where it's very difficult for our families to sit down at Thanksgiving dinner and be civil with each other because of politics and because of differences of opinion, which, if you think about it, that's what all of this really is. So appropriate. And I thank Mary for twisting my arm because it's opened my eyes and to a wider viewpoint of everything here.
Absolutely. And I'm so particularly proud with it being held in Branford, and we'll be able to share this with folks. And Branford is just for folks that aren't familiar with Connecticut or New Haven, et cetera, just outside New Haven. But oftentimes the major cities, you know, Bridgeport, New Haven, Hartford get all the shine. And I guess love the fact that we often forget about the Branfords of the world. And so on that note, I noticed that you have a number, and I was impressed with the number of sponsors. So Jackie or Mrs. Perry or Ray, tell us about your number of sponsors for the event.
Jackie, I'll let you take that one.
So
Yeah,
Jackie,
so yeah, I was going to say we've been working with the sponsors that are noted on our flyer, which is, and I apologize, I don't have the flyer in front of me. They have been working with the, with our committee for years. Tyco Printing, Guilford Savings Bank, those couple I can remember. And the reason that I think, it's important to have sponsors, it brings in the community. It shows that the community is interested and supportive of our organization's mission. And I think in addition to that, it just, it reinforces that, yes, Branford may be a small town. It may be, mostly Caucasians living in Branford, but what's important is that Branford is a small town, but it's a great community of people. And everyone is really interested, again, in, following Dr. King's ideas of peace and, judging people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I think, with these sponsorships that we've had, like I said, they've been supporting us for many years. And Mary, you might be able to speak a little further on those.
Yes, we have St. Stephen's, who is the original sponsor of the breakfast, St. Stephen's AME Zion Church. And then there's the First Congregational Church, Community Counseling, the Rotary Club, Ferreras.
Ferraros, yes, out of North Haven.
And Gopher's Eggs have over the years been very gracious with providing us meat and eggs, and whatever's left over, we donate it to the community kitchen here in Branford. So it's being wasted. We're just passing it forward to continue to help the community.
And that's so important. I'm glad, Jackie and Mrs. Perry, that you shared about the sponsorships, because I'm a local elected official here in New Haven, and we can always legitimately and understandably look to government to solve problems, but really we can sometimes solve problems without having government get involved, or at least kind of not just totally rely upon them. So I'm so glad you mentioned that kind of collaborative effect. Tell me a little bit. You mentioned that a church called St. Stephen's AME Zion Church in Branford, Connecticut. Senior pastor Reverend Leroy Berry Jr. So you guys were kind of the Moses, if you will, or you were the initial lead in this regard?
Yes, I think under the leadership of Reverend Woody, Charles Woody, it actually was a whole weekend of events, and then it kind of tapered off into just this one event because people were getting older and, transitioning to new positions. But it started 39 years ago, and they had a basketball tournament over the weekend. They fellowshipped at different churches and, the breakfast, of course. But the membership of St. Stephen's and under Reverend Woody started that.
Yes.
And Mr. Chandler, Mrs. Chandler, who, like I mentioned, Mr. Burns, I can't think of his first name right now. He and his wife. So a lot of the families who were part of the founding of the church, also part of the founding of the MLK Breakfast.
Yes.
And they've continued that support, even though they're older now, they're still supporting the program itself and supporting the church. And it's just a wonderful thing to see generation upon generation build off of something that was, dear to their hearts.
Indeed. And my heart was uplifted when you mentioned about including the additional emphasis on including the youth. I mean, that's just so important in terms of the next generations. And again, our churches, whether it's black, white churches, red, green churches, just the spiritual life is so important for us not to neglect. And there's ways we can be innovative and celebrate and bring a sense of harmony given this stressful time. Ray, you're a member of St. Stephen's?
Yes.
And so what keeps you in there every Sunday in terms of participating in that collection plate and giving some amens to Reverend Perry? What keeps you focused on that particular location?
Well, the primary focus I have is through the YCCI Cultural Ambassadors. That's how I really got involved. A member of the church. I have known Reverend Perry for 50 and counting, 51, 52 years. Our paths, did not cross for many, many years, but have crossed again. So, I always find him a masterstroke of humor and spirituality and social conscience. So, it's always an interesting message that you receive when you go to the church, and of course, getting involved in the health issues, the health championship issues as well.
Yes.
And the St. Stephen's is taken on in the forefront of the community.
And obviously, I won't ask Mrs. Perry to contradict you on anything that you just said. So we'll let that
add something.
Oh, please do. All right, please do.
I left out Leroy when I said about supporting the MLK, because he has been very supportive of this endeavor and anything that the church wants to do for the community. He supports us by being there. He helps to support financially, or the church through the church financially. And if I ask him to do something, he'll say, "Oh, no," but he'll do it for me.
Good.
Because he has that calling. He has that spirit about him, and he wants to touch lives, and he has so many times over. And he's just a great strength to me and to the church. And we are lucky to have him, because he could be anywhere else.
Excellent.
Celebrating Martin Luther King and getting paid for it and doing whatever, but he has given that up to support this community and the church.
Excellent. And Jackie, were you born in Branford? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's kept you. You mentioned your connection with Yvonne, but you've obviously been involved in it beyond that.
Yes. So I grew up in Milford, so not very far from Branford. And I've lived, in Branford is coming up on 33 years. And I've, since I was younger, I've always been interested in helping people, and always been interested in other cultures, other peoples. And when I came to Branford, I didn't know about the breakfast. I actually had just found out about the breakfast, about our committee and nonprofit about 5 years ago. I had seen a flyer for the breakfast, so I had attended the breakfast for a couple of years, and then I opted to volunteer for the organization because I really liked the message and the mission. And that's how I also got involved with the KIEDC in New Haven. Similarly, because, you know, to me, it's really important for communities to come together from, you know, Branfords and New Havens and people to work together to support each other and to remind each other that no matter what our differences are, we are all human. We all have very similar needs, and to just, you know, remember that we should all be there to support each other and lift each other up, even, you know, even with our differences.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And Ray and everyone else who kind of indicated about how do we create this beloved community, and it's not just a one-off, but it's a 24/7, 365 endeavor. So I mean, this is just so important. Let's share again, let tease folks with how we want them to come out, because there's always a lot of competition on that day. But I'm finding that folks sometimes the larger events, they find that it's not as intimate, the larger MLK events. So I'm encouraging folks, let's share with them how they can kind of come out and have kind of be able to rub shoulders with folks and not be overwhelmed with seats and auditorium, et cetera. So again, the date and time and how people can access tickets.
I can take that, Tom. It's January 15th, which, by the way, is Martin Luther King's actual birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So that's kind of a nice little twist. It's 8:30 a.m. It's a breakfast. It's the first one we've done since COVID. We're looking to get, you know, in the neighborhood of 200 people if we can. So it'll be relatively intimate. We're going to serve breakfast and do a service and listen to Yvonne's words of wisdom. Tickets, we did recently launch our website. So there's mlkheritage.org
Great.
that folks can go to. You can also sign up for tickets there. You can get tickets if you go online. You can do you know, research on the web, and you can find out how to get tickets as well. Tickets
Right.
Go ahead. I'm
if
sorry, Jackie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I can also add, right. So if you people who are on Facebook, you can go to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Heritage Committee. That's our Facebook page, and we have a link to purchase tickets there. And I think
Excellent.
it's Mary, it's on Event Groove as
Yes,
well. So people can
Yes.
search through Event Groove and they can find our program there as well.
Excellent.
and
Excellent.
there are discounted tickets for students.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And
$5.
how about senior citizens? Don't forget about us. Well,
Well,
you know, come on now. We gotta
we're all seniors at this point.
AARP eligible and more, right?
Oh, many years. Been around that lap a couple times.
Too much. Let's spend you know, another five or so more minutes. It's just so great to chat with everyone, and I love the fact that there's so many ways that folks can kind of tune in and listen. And Ray, you mentioned since COVID, I guess wanted to give a shout out for people to know that in spite of COVID, you still pursued. I mean, you still had it was virtual, but you still didn't let that the disease kind of impact the celebration. So I think that's a shout out as well, that you guys did not give up. You just persevered through that crisis, so to speak. Uh, I want to ask you, Ray, and then Jackie, and then Mrs. Perry, as kind of closing remarks. If and I'm not trying to throw a curveball at you, but if MLK was here today, what you hear this, people, what would MLK do, or what would Jesus do? But I like I'm asking folks between now and the celebrations to just ask themselves and even share with others, what would MLK do? Because when we hear people sacrificing their lives, and some would say even being murdered by the state, um, you know, this is 2024. And we are still having some issues. And so I think of MLK in terms of the Vietnam speech, and some would say that even kind of led to his demise. Um, but it's certainly one world, as you've indicated, Ray, also. So I want to kind of ask you to kind of share what maybe comes to your heart, mind, and soul if MLK was here today, what he would either want us to do, not only what he would say, but what he would want us to do, what he would want us to do. And it could be just showing more love to your young person or contributing to this organization or just volunteering or tutoring. So there's no one answer kind of thing, but I'm just curious what do you think he would want us to do? And I'm asking folks to really consider that for 2024, not just on January 15th, but
Well,
21st
Tom,
century.
thank you for that. To avoid that it's a resolution, because that's always a tricky thing. Come mid-February, I'm off my resolution. I think the message, one of the clear messages I received from MLK, and think if he were back here today, he would say something like, "You know what? It's never too late to become a better version of yourself."
Mm.
Because it
Mm.
really all starts with you. How do you treat other people around you? How do you engage when you go to the grocery store? When people cut you off on the highway, and I'm not very good at that. There's plenty of opportunity for all of us to kind of spread a more positive interaction with our fellow human beings. And I think if we do that, and I think that's really part and parcel to the central message that he was calling upon us. In other words, to individualize his message and really take it upon ourselves to act a certain way to bring about, be the change you want to become, you want to see happen, that message.
Jackie?
Yeah, excellent, Ray. And I agree with every sentiment that you just communicated. And I would add to that, look beyond yourself, as you were saying, and how you can help others, but take an active role. Don't just read about things. Don't just, talk with your friends. Try and expand your community of people that you work with, that you associate with, because I think when people take that opportunity to really look outside of their own community, then they really get to learn more about other people, but also about themselves and how all of us can support each other and make positive impacts in the world.
Excellent. Mrs. Perry?
Ooh, leaving me for last, but after all of that, no.
You can always say ditto. I mean, you've heard that.
Ditto. But I'm gonna add to it.
Add to it.
Last year I started, and I don't know why I started it. I think something kind of impacted my life one day. And I said, oh my God, am I like that? And I started saying every day after that, I want to be living my life on purpose to make an impact in someone's life, to help someone, not say a harsh word to someone. And every day since that day, I have been trying to do that. And I'm mindful of it every day when I get up. And this year's theme of Dr. King, and thinking about what he would be doing or would want us to do, is not to be silent, but to speak up for our humanity, to love people, to help someone. And that is what I try to do. And maybe it's the Christian in me that I strive to be. But I think Dr. King's message is tied in with that.
Yes.
I want to be a person living on purpose to help someone.
Excellent. I don't think we can improve upon that. And obviously, Yvonne's Davis's her title is the impact of silence. So if we are silenced, the negative ramifications of us not really creating a chorus of voices for freedom, humanity, and liberation. So I just want to thank everyone for being here this morning. We'll get this word out. 24/7, 365. We want to keep on marching, keep on being productive, keep on helping, and keep on loving. Thank you, everybody. Have a good morning.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Tom.
My pleasure. Take
Really
care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.